warm welcome here in our studio in Sarakunda. This is Star TV News with me, Memunaju Fadera. In the headlines tonight, civil society organization described the newly draft constitution as far reflection of diverse opinions of Gambians. GT Board, NCA, INK, MOU for tourism and culture promotion. Former National Assembly member Hadinyang Jai donates protective equipment to the Kanifing Hospital. On the international scene, Trump to withdraw US from Open Skies Arms Control Treaty. Hydroxychloroquine global trials, drug to be tested on UK health workers. Football matches resume in Costa Rica as virus pops ease. Well, those were the headlines, and now the news in details. The civil society organization on Thursday, in a press conference at Tango Hall in Bakau, released their recommendations in the newly draft constitution, which they also describe as a fair reflection of the diverse opinions of the Gambian people. Well, Dada Cham has the rest of the story, and she now reports.
The Constitutional Review Commission consulted citizens at home and in the diaspora, as well as cabinet ministers, the National Assembly members, political parties, religious bodies and civil societies for their opinion during the process of drafting a new constitution, which was submitted to the President on March 30th and then released it to the public the day after. Reading out their recommendation, John Charles Njai, manager of Tango, said it is incumbent on the current government to take all urgent steps necessary to assure that the draft constitution is submitted unaltered to the National Assembly to respect the aspiration of the people.
We stand to support this process. We know that it will go to the National Assembly, and we have recommended to the National Assembly to expedite the process during their deliberations, also taking into consideration that their constituencies have been consulted in this process. So really, we are hoping that there is no delay in any place. But civil society stands ready to support this process. We will be coming together and planning to support the expediting of the process to a logical conclusion.
They also urged the political parties as primary stakeholders to prepare the National Assembly members in readiness for their deliberation on the draft in August of this year, because the civil society believe that the opinion is a key determination of whether or not the country will usher in a new constitution in time of 2021 presidential election. The civil society also called on the Independent Electoral Commission, IEC, to honor its mandate by the timely conduct of voter registration, leading to holding of a constitution by the end of 2020. The society also asked the citizens to continue engaging and demonstrating commitment to assure that the final draft constitution, which reflects the will of the people, is passed before the 2021 election. They also recognized the important role played by the international bodies. Reporting for Star TV News, I am Dado Cham.
A framework agreement for the development and implementation of a 4-star hotel was on Wednesday signed between the Gambia Tourism Board and the National Center for Arts and Culture. The agreement paves the way for GT Board to build a 4-star hotel in Barra, North Bank region. Abdullah Haidara, the Director General of GT Board, and Hasum Sise, the Director General of the NCAC, signed the agreement on behalf of their respective organization. The project will strengthen the ties between the GT Board and NCAC for promoting domestic and heritage tourism. Mata Sengor files in this report.
The Barra Hotel project, situated at Barra Point, NBR, is 40 rooms, 4-star hotel built by GT Board. It is meant to solve the long-standing need for food accommodation in Barra town, which has greatly affected tourism and trade in the town. The hotel will create employment for the community of Barra and environs, give space for artists in the form of craft shops where material of interest could be made and sold to visitors. It will add value to Barra and foster a lot of business related to tourism and culture for the women and youth of Barra and the Newmies. Speaking at the signing ceremony held at the Ministry of Tourism and Culture, Honorable Amat N. Biba, Minister of MOTC, congratulates the Director General of NCAC and GT Board for the partnership, noting that this is one of the key policies of the government of President Adama Barrow to promote domestic tourism, and in promoting domestic tourism, they definitely need to create the facilities, and the duty board have to be the pace setter in that aspect. For this part, Abdullah M. Toure, the chairperson of the GT board, congratulates NCAC and GT board for this partnership. He told the meeting that as they go into the post-COVID-19 era, it is important that they rethink their strategies and rethink as to the direction that tourism will take. He said what is very evident is that the world is now in a new dispensation, and that new dispensation looks at sustainability. How do we ensure sustainability in terms of the planet, people, and also productivity? According to him, the major attraction for people wanting to come to Gambia is premised on heritage. He said the partnership is win-win because it will give tourists the opportunity to discover our culture and rich heritage, and it will also bring in development in the area. Thus, he said, the new development in Barra will certainly be a game changer for the industry. Hasum Sise, the Director General of the NCAC, stated that the signing of the MOU is a sign of partnership between the NCAC and GT board under the auspice of the Ministry of Tourism and Culture to erect a 4-star accommodation facility at Barra Point, Fort Bullen, which is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Reporting for Star TV News, I am Mati Senghor.
The Kanifing Municipal Council, in collaboration with the Tailors Association in the country, yesterday launched its preventive aid initiative by providing 50,000 locally made masks for markets within the KMC region. While our reporter Maria Madem covered the launching, and she now reports.
Since COVID-19 hits the country, KMC, under the leadership of the Lord Mayor Ahmed Talib Bensouda, have been working tirelessly in fighting the virus by sensitizing people about the virus, providing sanitary items, fumigating markets, and also providing food items for the vulnerable people within KMC. Speaking during the launching, the mayor of KMC, Talib Bensouda, says KMC is committed to working with communities, the Ministry of Health, NDMA, Red Cross, and partners to respond to the COVID-19 pandemic and protect residents of the municipality under Pillar 2 of their emergency action plan for COVID-19.
The Council is committed to working with communities and partners to respond to the COVID-19 pandemic and to protect residents of the municipality. The task force prepared and launched KMC's Emergency Action Plan for COVID-19, which is composed of 3 pillars. 1, public sensitization. 2, stop the spread. 3, ease the economic and hunger burden. Under Pillar 2, stopping the spread of COVID-19, the Council is launching an initiative today to distribute 50,000 face masks in the KMC's 18 markets. Today, the initiative is deploying 5,000 face masks through the market committees in the municipality. The Council is calling upon the private sector and development partners to achieve the goal of 50,000 face masks in KMC. The Council has worked with the Ministry of Health to identify scientific specifications for locally made face masks. 1, to have multiple layers of fabric. 2, material should be breathable. 3, should contain materials with hydrophobic properties to keep droplets inside the mask. 4, shape of the mask should entirely cover your mouth, chin, and go up to your ears. 5, fit of the mask should be snug without much movement. The general public, especially market vendors, are strongly encouraged to use face masks whenever they leave their compound and whenever they visit the market to stop the spread of COVID-19.
He also encouraged vendors to wear masks and maintain the social distancing and at least have 2 masks for them to be able to wear one while the other is being washed. The launching of the preventive initiative is targeting the 19 markets within the KMC to protect the vendors from contracting the deadly virus, COVID-19. The Council will start distributing 5,000 masks within the KMC region. Maria Madem, reporting for Star TV News.
The Gambia Minister of Tourism, Arts and Culture told Star TV in an exclusive interview with Modo El Baji on Thursday at his ministry in Banjul, saying that the tourism sector is dead. Modo El Baji reports.
A good chunk of the Gambia's economy is generated from its tourism sector, However, the advent of the global pandemic have gravely impacted this sector, and it has led to the closure of almost all the tourism industries. The Minister of Tourism, Arts and Culture, Ahmed Nkeba, explained how hard the COVID-19 hits his ministry, noting that it will be difficult for his ministry to start.
To be honest with you, I think everybody knows that tourism is on ground zero today, and that means it has devastated the tourism industry. By all means, in every aspect of it, I think tourism, to be honest, is dead today. It's gone for the time being. Yeah, the spirit is there. The men and women who have been behind the background doing things, making things happen, they are there already, but the tourists are not there. So that shows that COVID have really devastated the industry.
Well, so any plan to...
Well, it's not an easy situation because the unfortunate thing in the Gambia, we don't have domestic tourism. Our tourists are usually imported. They all come from overseas, most of them from other countries to visit our country. And because of the COVID-19, those source markets for us, the countries where these tourists come from, are also under lockdown. And some of them are also facing some serious challenges. And it is not easy for them, both their governments, their citizens. It's chaotic, difficult, and dangerous for them.
Despite the numerous repercussions of the virus, Honorable Barra is working on modalities to regain his ministry's glory after the pandemic.
But the problem that we face now, our source markets are also in trouble, as I said. So a few of my colleagues have contacted me from Kenya and other parts for us to see what can we do to start planning post-COVID so that as a continent, we approach the market together, which of course is important, taking into account that countries like the Gambia, the resources we have, financial resources, we have the human resource base that we use a lot. But again, the financial muscles we are not endowed with to, compare to other countries who have got support from the World Bank. I don't want to name them, a couple of them, and most of them rather, and the Gambia yet still to access those funds. It's important we approach this as a continental body. We work together and then to see how we can plan, make strategies in place so that post-COVID we can now restore or bring back the glory of tourism once again in the African continent. And that we have started consultation, and hopefully before end of June we should have a conference that we should be able to communicate and then discuss the issue and then compile something and use it as a strategy. That's the only thing that we can do for Africa. Yes, for West Africa too, we hope to do the same thing to see. But because West Africa has a good source market, in Nigeria is one of the best source markets for tourism. And I think our strategy as a ministry has always been trying to get into the regional market. And we have been working on that, and we've been making a lot of investment in that area. And I think this is the time now to strengthen that position.
Honorable Barra seized the opportunity to react on the former Minister of Tourism's reaction regarding the government's approach towards supporting the tourism sector.
Like the Gambia Hotel Association under the chairperson of Fatou Mas, that government is doing nothing, have done nothing, have don't even recognize them. And that government, she could have remembered when she was Minister of Tourism during Ebola, SARS, and all the other epidemics that have come in this country. Her government, she as a minister, did nothing to support the industry. She was minister, close to Jammeh, very prominent in the government of Jammeh. Could not even tell us one thing that her ministry did at the time to support the tourism sector.
Honorable Barra added that his ministry will support the tourism sector based on the country's interests. Reporting for Star TV, I am Modu Elbaji.
Hadinyang Jeng, the former National Assembly member for New Newsroom, on Friday handed over personal protective equipment and sanitary items to the Kanifing General Hospital in the fight against the COVID-19, Dado Cham reports.
In 2014, the Accident and Emergency Unit of the Serekunda Hospital was named after the former MP due to her constant contribution to the hospital. Mr. Babakar M.A. Sen, hospital administrator, expresses his appreciation to the donor as he outlined that the Kanifing General Hospital is one of the biggest hospitals in the country. He said the items will go a long way in helping the medical personnel in protecting themselves.
We know that COVID-19 is contagious, so the masks, the gloves, these are the things that we need. But when you send somebody to the battlefront to fight an enemy, it's important that you equip that individual. So the masks that are donated, the gloves, will really ensure that our staff have the requisite protective gears for them to do their work safely and go back to their families safely. The sanitary items are important. One of the measures that's currently being used to prevent COVID-19 is hand hygiene.
He also advised the public to continue implementing the measures to fight against the virus, mainly social distance and hand washing, especially during the Eid. Madam Jaina Bajangjai, a sister to Hadi, said her sister had been doing her best in the development of the health sector, especially the Serakuda Hospital, because she cares so much for the health status of every individual.
Is someone who is always concerned about the welfare of her fellow human beings and believes that each and every one of us has a right to good health.
Madam Jai said their family is delighted to deliver the items as their contribution towards the fight against the virus. The items include 600 bottles of sanitizers, 120 bottles of bleach, 60 liquid soaps, 300 Dettol soaps, 300 disposable gloves, 500 face masks, and 50 bottles of liquid soaps. Reporting for Star TV News, I am Dada Cham.
And now we look at the news beyond our borders. The United States has announced that it will pull out of the Open Skies Treaty, which allows member countries to conduct unarmed surveillance flights over 35 participating states. President Trump said he was withdrawing the U.S. from the treaty as Russia had repeatedly violated its terms. Al Jazeera's Rob Reynolds reports.
The Open Skies Treaty, ratified by 34 countries, allows unarmed military surveillance flights over each country's territory. It was primarily intended to promote openness and transparency between nuclear superpowers, the U.S. and Russia, allowing both nations to gather information about each other's military forces and activities. Now, President Donald Trump is withdrawing from the agreement, saying Russia took unfair advantage of it.
Russia didn't adhere to the treaty. So until they adhere, we will pull out. But there's a very good chance we'll make a new agreement or do something to put that agreement back together.
Among other things, U.S. officials say Russia barred U.S. flights over certain heavily militarized territories, used the treaty to attempt to normalize its forced annexation of Crimea, and tried to gather non-military information about critical U.S. infrastructure, with a possible view toward disabling it during a conflict. In Moscow, a senior foreign ministry official said the U.S. was not behaving as a reliable partner, and that abandoning the treaty will force Russia to employ what he called a Plan B, without elaborating. Another official called the U.S. action unjustified. Meanwhile, the Trump administration wants to begin a new three-way arms control dialogue, including China along with Russia. Trump is optimistic.
We're probably going to make a deal with Russia on arms treaty, and China will be maybe included in that. We'll see what happens.
U.S. officials say both countries are aggressively expanding their nuclear arsenals. Regarding Russia, a White House official says,
they've adopted a highly provocative nuclear doctrine that embraces early escalation and use of nuclear weapons, what the Russian military is calling escalate to win.
The U.S. and China have not held strategic arms negotiations, and there are no signs that Beijing is interested in three-way party arms talks.
Beijing, like Moscow, is intent on building up its nuclear forces and using those forces to try to intimidate the United States and our friends and our allies.
U.S. officials say they will strongly press Russia to help bring the Chinese to the negotiating table. Rob Reynolds, Al Jazeera.
And anti-drug made famous by the US President Donald Trump will now be trialed on frontline health workers in Europe, Africa and South America. This comes as many European nations are trying to navigate a way out of coronavirus lockdown restriction. Al Jazeera's Asad Bey reports.
What has strict measures, but sometimes you need a little help with social distancing. One restaurant in Lithuania placed mannequins inside to attract people to dine and to make sure they keep 2 meters apart.
Yesterday, when we had already all the mannequins sitting in their places, at once it felt like a full restaurant, and it gave a much better vibe in the restaurant at once. So that was the main goal of the whole project, and yesterday evening we felt already that, hey, it's working.
Social distancing for dummies. Asad Bey, Al Jazeera, London.
As the coronavirus pandemic rages in parts of Latin America, Costa Rica's quick response to the outbreak has brought infection numbers down. And now football matches have come back to the country with fans watching from a safe distance, while Al Jazeera's Manuel Rapal reports.
This week marked the return of First Division football in Costa Rica after the country suspended matches on March 17th. It may not be a return to the packed stadiums of the past, but the sport is back, at least on screen. The first matches are being held in empty stadiums, but an easing of restrictions, given the relatively low coronavirus contagion rate in the country, means people can watch from other public spaces.
People come to restaurants to share and celebrate, the same as in the stadium. Reopening the football tournament means a light at the end of the tunnel, a light that gives us hope.
Players have been able to resume regular training and complete the remaining 7 rounds of the regular season, albeit under strict new rules, though many footballers just seem glad to be back on the pitch.
We were training before, but it was without contact, and it wasn't the same. Today we were feeling like the first day of school, coming again to training, having contact, having some time on the pitch. These things we used to do. Thank God we're back.
It will still be some time before fans can return to watch live games, and authorities say that while the coronavirus remains a threat, extreme sanitation measures will remain in place.
We've had to draft a manual for procedures to meet the sanitary guidelines set by the Health Ministry. This includes disinfecting stadiums where games are played, the need for spectators to wear masks, and social distancing inside the stadium.
Football is considered Costa Rica's national pastime, and the government's decision to reopen the regular season has been widely applauded.
Thousands of families make a living directly or indirectly from football, and in Costa Rica, football is a feeling, a passion. It's a joy that the country has been without for 2 months, and we as a federation are obliged to try to stabilize its economy.
Costa Rica was the first country in Central America to report the arrival of COVID-19, but widespread adherence by the general public to containment rules and guidelines appear to have paid off. Manuel Rapalo, Al Jazeera.
And before we end the news, Eric Gabo for our main headlines. Civil society organization described the newly draft constitution as fair reflection of diverse opinions of Gambians. GT Board, NCAC, INK, MOU for Tourism and Culture Promotion. Former National Assembly member Hadinyan Jai donates protective equipment to Carnival Hospital. Trump to withdraw U.S. from Open Skies Arms Control Treaty. Hydroxychloroquine global trials, drug to be tested on UK health workers. Football matches resume in Costa Rica as virus corps ease. Well, before we end the news, on behalf of Star TV, we want to wish all the Muslims a happy Eid, and may the Almighty Allah accept all our prayers and forgive all our sins. Well, that's all for this edition of today's news. Please do enjoy the rest of our programs and join us tomorrow for more news. Thanks for watching. It's bye from me.